Shehu Musa Yar'adua, military leader, political strategist, public servant, man of God.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Shehu, that is Usman. Musa Yar'adua. I'm a retired soldier. Well, I did my secondary school in Katsina, got trained in Sandhurst, got commissioned in the Nigerian Army. I was the Chief of Staff, Supreme Headquarters. I retired from the Army in 1979, and I'm now a peasant farmer.
Born in Katsina on March 5, 1943, young Shehu was a bright, if rather shy child. He modestly remembered his classroom performance as ordinary. While he had a gift for debate and rarely lost an argument, he said he was neither the best nor the worst student, probably somewhere in the middle. Shehu's father, Malam Musa Yar'adua, was a member of the Katsina Emirate Council, a member of the House of Representatives, and Minister for Lagos Affairs in the First Republic.
Our late father never tolerated or condoned indiscipline or dishonesty or laziness. He brought us up to believe in hard work, honesty, and discipline.
Nigeria gained independence from Britain on October 1, 1960. Shehu attended the Nigerian Military Training College in Kaduna. From there, he was selected to attend the Royal Military Academy in Sandhurst, England. He returned home in 1964 and was commissioned a second lieutenant and posted to the 1st Battalion, Enugu. But first, he chose as his bride, Binta, the daughter of Alhaji Shehu Usman, Sarkin Maska Funtua, a lifelong friend of the Mutawal in Katsina. They married on December 27, 1965. Lieutenant Yar'adua was known for his strict adherence to military discipline and was respected by his troops. Civil war erupted on May 30, 1967, after an attempted secession by the former Eastern region. 1 million lives were lost. Yar'adua's capture of Onitsha on March 21, 1968 is regarded as a decisive battle and turning point that led to the end of the bloody conflict. Yar'adua wrote in his diary, "Ammunition state becoming critical. I have to capture Onitsha and link up with the 7th Brigade, or else things will be awful. This means I have to personally lead the advance from now on. Well, Onitsha, here we come." The next day, he wrote, the brigade started moving at 0600. Giwata Fadi, Onitsha is taken. A fantastic achievement for the brigade. I have never seen troop morale so high. On January 15, 1970, the region was liberated and total surrender accepted. But the devastation was disheartening.
Shehu was a planner, a strategist, a very good staff officer, and one of the right-hand men of the commander of 2nd Division at that time, late General Murtala Muhammad.
Yar'adua recognized the futility of disunity based on ethnicity, region, or religion. Despair due to corruption and drift led to the overthrow of General Yakubu Gowon, and General Murtala Muhammad was sworn in as head of state. He gave the country a new sense of direction. Yar'adua was named Federal Commissioner of Transport. He established a blueprint for the development of Nigeria's transport sector and oversaw the reorganization and decongestion of the nation's ports. General Murtala Muhammad was tragically slain by an assassin's bullet on February 13, 1976. The nation mourned his passing. Lieutenant General Olusegun Obasanjo was sworn in as head of state. Brigadier General Shehu Yar'adua was named Chief of Staff, Supreme Headquarters. His meteoric rise on the national scene occurred within 3 years. At 36, he was promoted Major General, the youngest Major General on the African continent.
He's not a man of many words, a very taciturn. So when he says anything to you, it was well thought out and well presented.
The Obasanjo administration committed itself to continuing the policies of the Murtala government. Roads, bridges, dams and steel mills were built. Automobile, tractor and fertilizer factories were established to provide the infrastructure needed for self-sufficiency in food production. Importantly, the administration kept its promise by handing over government to civilians on October 1, 1979. General Yar'adua retired and moved to Kaduna. Life took on a slower pace. He turned his attention to establishing a variety of businesses with partners and investors. As a Muslim, he worked tirelessly for the promotion of Islam at home and abroad. The National Mosque in Abuja will remain a living testimony to his contribution, a symbol of his commitment to serve Allah. In 1987, he was named Tafidan Katsina, an honor conferred largely for his important accomplishments and the distinction he had bestowed on his birthplace.
I remember when Shehu Yar'adua came to see me and my farm and saying that he was going to form a party. He, of course, left me in no doubt that the purpose of forming a party is not for him to use it to higher political office in the land, but to use it to achieve making Nigeria a great nation.
I hereby solemnly declare my intention to seek the nomination of my party, the Social Democratic Party, for the office of the President of America.
The military had seized power again in the 1984 coup, and the restoration of democracy for Nigeria continued to inspire the gifted politician.
The late Shehu Yar'adua was a great strategist, a tactician, a brilliant individual. And he was able to reach out to prominent politicians across the country who had the support, of the grassroots, and therefore was able to build bridges. I remember one remark he made. He said, the only way you can represent your people is if you get elected by your own people.
Devoid of ethnic or religious bias, Yar'adua's organizations dominated the political landscape, breaking what he dubbed the siege mentality that had dogged Nigerian politics.
Bridge builder, he built bridges. He wasn't afraid of problems. He wanted them identified, solutions identified, and then he had the willpower, to go ahead and get these things done. That's the kind of man he was. If it's a religious problem, attack it, deal with it. If it is a political problem, go straight at it. Bearing in mind that the future is not waiting, the future is now.
Shehu was a man of many parts. He meant different things to different people. But as a politician, he was a master of the game.
Winning handily in a crowded group of aspirants, the primary elections were annulled and he was banned from further participation. Without bitterness, he devoted himself to playing the role of advisor, mentor and counselor through new rounds of elections.
He wanted a Nigeria dedicated to all Nigerians. And if he could lead it from the front, he was willing. But if his role was a supportive role, he was equally willing.
With his support, SDP selected Chief MKO Abiola as its candidate. That election too was annulled. The country was in crisis. General Babangida was forced to step aside in August 1993. He handed over to an interim national government. The ING was overthrown by Sani Abacha less than 3 months later. a national constitutional conference was called. Yar'adua challenged the regime to categorically state a date to hand over to a democratically elected government. In any case, he added, Abacha should not stay beyond December 31st, 1994. The Constitutional Conference passed a resolution calling on the regime to transfer power to a civilian government. The gauntlet had been thrown. Yar'adua was arrested in the early hours of March 9, 1995 and incarcerated without charge at Kirikiri prison in Lagos. Chief Obasanjo was also arrested, as those who sought to perpetuate themselves in power were prepared to remove any obstacle that stood in their path. Yar'adua wrote from his prison cell, "Please do not worry too much about me. I am okay. It is a sacrifice some of us must make for our country to be free." The Abacha regime laid claim to an alleged coup plot. A death sentence was passed. Amidst mounting pressure, the sentence was commuted to life in prison. He was transferred to Port Harcourt. Yar'adua's spirits remained high. His faith in God was deep and abiding. He was confident he would eventually be freed. But the government continued to fear his ability to organize. He was moved to Enugu. Within weeks, he was transferred to Abakaliki prison, where conditions were deplorable. He often fell ill with colds and malaria. His concern, however, was for the nation. He wrote to former American President Jimmy Carter, "Mr. President, my country is today in the grip of a very greedy and inept dictatorship. Its once viable economy is in tatters, but even worse, its institutions are being destroyed. In the face of all this, one's personal problems appear inconsequential. In short, Mr. President, much more than General Obasanjo and myself, Nigeria needs saving. Please help save my country." Formed the basis of the People's Democratic Party's stunning victory in the 1999 elections.
In giving his life, it confirmed that those ideas would prevail. Just as Martin Luther King is more powerful in America through his death, and the fact that he gave his life for the things that he believed in, for the country that he loved, even though that country was betraying him at the time. That's the kind of greatness that I saw in Shehu Yar'adua.
In his own words, let me quote him, "Public service is service to God. You serve God by serving His creatures."
Shehu Yar'adua fought for truth and justice. He sacrificed his life so Nigerians might know a democracy where people are governed rather than ruled. His was a life well lived, a life of courage, a life of service.